Good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you guys are listening to this. Welcome back to another edition of the Layman's AI podcast. I am Adam,
And my name is Brian.
and we want to welcome you guys back to this week's episode. This week we are talking things that are Google/Gemini and
Hmm.
all the recently somewhat exciting updates that Gemini has come out with. Brian, if I recall, you were and are a pretty heavy Gemini user, even though we're Claude fanboys. We admit it.
Hmm.
The first step is admitting you have the fanboy in you, and that's
Hmm.
us. But Brian, you are a fan of Google Gemini, and tell us a little bit about your background with Gemini and how that's worked out for you over the course of what, 2 years now? Close to?
Yeah. I mean, I just been using it for basic searches and everything like that.
Hmm.
When I use Claude, it's typically with a definite purpose, like for a project. Now, we've kind of been over this. They kind of limit your prompting and everything, and how much they allow you to use the models. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But they're kind of a smaller company, so they have to be a little more lean with their cash or what have you. But usually Gemini, I do this with my everyday. This is my everyday companion here. I just kind of ask it some questions. Just recently, I was looking up some tips on how to seed my lawn. Kind of good time to do it, what to
Oh,
use and everything,
oh,
and,
you
and
should just call
stuff like that.
you should call my father.
Okay.
Two-time yard of the year, Wickliffe, Ohio, something like that. Like yeah,
Okay.
you should just call him with how to take care of that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll check that out. But it's just like things like that. Essentially, essentially with Google Gemini here, because uh, like we said, Claude kind of limits your prompting and everything. Gemini still allows you to do all the prompting, and
Hmm.
just for your everyday tasks, I like it.
Yeah.
I definitely like it. And trying to look here, I'm just kind of I have Gemini over on the side, and also a
Uh,
disclosure: while we're doing the episodes, I kind of have it look up some information while we're recording as well. So you might hear
Absolutely. Yeah.
some Gemini coming in
I,
as
I was
well.
certain you kept Gemini up. So I want to share with you what I still love about Gemini and always have loved, despite the one weakness I think Gemini has that is glaring. Uh, Gemini is great for creating prompts for all LLMs. If you tell Gemini, I need a good prompt for ChatGPT, or I need a good prompt for Claude or Grok, Gemini does a darn good job of taking what you give it and filtering it into the correct format or a similar format so that you can put that in there. Not as good,
Okay.
not the best, like a specific tool that's willing to do that for you, but I will tell you what, Gemini's fantastic at that. And I love using Gemini to set up an initial project for myself. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely.
yeah.
It's
So,
it's kind of like the all around go-to right now because Google's been a tech leader for a while. I
of
think
course,
we've kind of talked about this too. They have the infrastructure in place already for a Gemini model, if you
yes.
really think about it, because when you type anything in any LLM, it basically does its own little Google search to put answers together.
Hmm.
And while a lot of these other LLMs are, basically acting as third party to the LLM search, Google is baked right in and everything. And you're
Yeah.
basically doing a Google search, an analyzed Google search when you're prompting an LLM. A lot of people, don't look at it that way, but that's where kind of Google already had an inherent edge on the competition, really. They just needed to come up to speed once AI technology started to blow up.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
you and I have mentioned this before. And because of that, knowing that, as well as the funding sources, which is a whole nother thing
Hmm.
that we covered a couple episodes ago, we believe that 2026 is going to be the year that Gemini breaks out and becomes the actual leader of AI, which is ironic because right now, here we are in April of 2026, and it seems like Claude is the absolute best. We
Hmm.
still think, or I still think, Gemini has the potential to break that break the glass or whatever term we want to use and
Hmm.
move forward and become that tool that dominates 2026. The structure's still in place for Gemini to do that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Don't sleep on Google. I've
Never sleep on Google.
Yeah, never sleep on Google.
Yeah.
They got as big as they are for a reason.
Hmm.
I know we might get into some antitrust discussions a little later on in the episode, but they're
No.
oh they they got capital behind them.
Yes.
They're one of the biggest phone makers, them and Apple, and I think we covered this in a previous episode. Apple Intelligence is done, and they're using Google, aren't they? I believe we talked about that.
I thought we said that. Um,
Yeah.
it's really a privilege to record it this many episodes to that we
Hmm.
can't recall sometimes
All those
what we
episodes.
discuss and what we haven't discussed. So
Yeah.
we finally hit that point in our journey that
Yeah,
we're on
so if
right
you're
here with this
listening, go
podcast.
back to every single episode and listen to all of them and find that comment. Anyway,
Yes, please.
but going back to Gemini, the LLM, it
Yeah,
does have a few different models here. It does have the fast one, which kind of gives you the quick answer. I'm looking at Gemini 3 here. It does the thinking for
yeah.
complex problems, and the Pro with advanced math and code. And this is kind of like Claude a little bit, where they kind of you can kind of change you know how in depth you want to go with everything. It defaults to the fast when you first bring it up, probably to save them on a little bit of computing on the back end of everything.
Is that the is that the fast or the flash? The
Fast.
fast. Okay.
Yeah, Flash might be something similar.
I think it is because that's that very fast, low cost. Um,
Mhm.
model of version. For those of you who don't know, Gemini has many versions of that you can use, much
Yeah.
like ChatGPT. You want to use the different tools built within for different things that you're doing with the LLM or the AI tool that you're
Hmm.
using. So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah.
But yeah, I kind of wish LLMs would start to explain this a little more, be a little more simplified, because everybody's going to all these different models and everything, and they're explaining the models, and
Hmm.
a lot of the layman's are kind of confused about the whole thing, to be honest with you. I get
I,
confused
I I
sometimes.
know this is a Google episode, but I felt ChatGPT was the first one to actually start to explore the okay, we as the LLM provider have to figure out what the customer wants with their prompt and then
Hmm.
assign it the correct. And I honestly think 2 to 3 years from now, these conversations we're having about which model to use, that's going to
Hmm.
be decided to us by the AI tools.
Yeah, it's
And
going to
I'm already
be
seeing some of
definitely
that
be
in
interesting.
Claude and Google as well. I'm already
Yeah,
starting to see a
definitely.
little bit of that. They know what they're doing. They could base their response on what you're asking, and they can move
Hmm.
forward with that.
Yeah, and like all the other LLMs, Google AI Plus, that is a subscription-based model. That's
Hmm.
their most powerful one, their biggest, their biggest gun, so to say, in the arsenal or what have you. So, you don't need to pay for it if you just want to do some like basic stuff. Like I said, I just do some basic stuff. Sometimes I just ask it some simple questions. I'm trying to figure out how to go throughout the day or what have you, and figure some other things out. So,
Hmm.
anyway, moving on, this Google has more than just an LLM, which
Absolutely,
is
it does. Yes.
which this is where really where Google kind of sets itself apart from the other ones. Whereas whatchamacallit, OpenAI shut down Sora. Do they still have their image generator? I don't know if
Oh, they
OpenAI
do.
does.
It's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah.
Let me put it this way. We're about to go into a conversation where we're talking about video editing, or excuse me, not video editing, but video creation, image creation, as well as
Hmm.
lyrics creation. Google hands down has the upper hand because out of all those, the image generation in ChatGPT might be better, in my humble opinion.
Hmm.
But that really is an opinion on this one. Others may say that Google makes better images. Fine, I'm not going to argue with you on that one. But
Yeah,
when it comes to
everybody's.
like video and lyrics,
Hmm.
music, Google's got it.
Yeah, definitely. I think whatchamacallit, what was I gonna say? A lot of those different flavors. Like some people like
Hmm.
chocolate ice cream, some people like vanilla ice cream. So you
Yeah.
you can decide what the image is better. But they do have generative AI, which is I know is a big taboo thing to talk about nowadays. They got the VO3 that's their video creation tool
Yes.
right there.
Very
Uh,
powerful tool. Very easy to use tool.
mhm.
What can you get? 8 second. On most platforms, you can get an 8 second video out of that. You can get
Yeah,
a fair
so
amount for free in a day. I mean, It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, let me just check here. How long of videos does VO3 Gen? I think they're 8-second clips. I'm asking Gemini right now. See,
Please do.
this is
The
what we
Gemini
do.
should be the expert on this. So
Yeah, 8 seconds.
yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I thought.
standard clips, 4, 6, or 8 seconds.
Hmm.
You can extend them up sequences up to 148 seconds. So yeah, that's probably going to be the pay for it right there
I was
and
gonna say I don't
everything.
think you can get that on the free version.
No, definitely not. That's where they tease you and make you think that you're a professional videographer. But but that's kind of the interesting thing right there. And VO is kind of competing against other sort of video generative AI video platforms. One that comes to mind is Runway ML. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
they have their own model and everything, but what I did read in preparation of this episode, Runway ML does have an option where you can use the VO model with their platform, which kind of tells you that, maybe Google's uh, model is starting to show some signs that it might be getting just as good as the specialty AI models here.
Possible. Possible and probable. I would actually
Yeah.
say, I should say probable more than possible in this case.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think there were some differences and everything. I think Runway ML had a few kind of advantages over VO, in some aspects, but then
I
VO had some advantages elsewhere. But
I
you can
do.
really blend the two together.
I think Runway's thing was they've always focused on image and video generation,
Hmm.
not
Yeah,
so
we
much the LLM portion of this.
yeah, we'd have to do a whole episode on that. I'm just kind of comparing right now VO with Runway and everything. But the video generator, it's starting to come alive. And like I said, you can make like 8-second clips, and you could sort of do like kind of like the extended with the paid for version and everything.
Hmm.
And you can legitimately make, short films or short videos out of this. And I don't know how they would piece together, like if you made the longest extension for one and then you
Yeah,
try to piece them together. That's
I
kind of where I think it would struggle
I
right now
think
with generative AI.
if you're going to do that, you have to be very good at your prompting, and you better
Hmm.
have the maximum paid account to for
Hmm.
storage, likeness, quality, whatever you want. It would have to be a paid account. You're not doing that for free, and if you can, we would love to interview you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. If you want to like give us a call and advertise us on your social media. But anyway, um,
I love
but
it.
yeah, it's you're not going to sit there like kind of the point is you're not going to make a full length feature film with VO just yet because you're going to extend your one scene as much as you can. Then you're like, okay, now I got to add another scene. There's going to be differences
Yeah.
in the next extended scene. You could do like kind of 2-minute shorts and everything. We where that kind of is where the AI slop comes in. Did we do an episode on that recently? Yes, we did do an
Oh, we
episode on
certainly
that
did.
recently. Yeah, we certainly did. And that's kind of I would say this is like one of the culprits of where AI slop is coming from, not to knock them too much, but you could definitely do some like kind of quick advertisements. But that's their video.
Yeah,
Uh what about their image generator, Adam?
it's solid. It is
Is it?
solid. I would, like I said, it's an opinionated question, but I would give ChatGPT and Leonardo, another one that is a fantastic AI tool. I'd probably give those two the a little bit of a they're a little bit of a head in my opinion. However, if you're doing this for your monthly subscription, image
Hmm.
generation, it's fantastic. But is it necessarily as good as creating a slide deck or a short video promotion
Hmm.
or whatever you need? I don't think, let me put it this way. I don't think ChatGPT and others are enough ahead that you should discount not using the paid account for Gemini because of all the other features that you get with it. But
Yeah.
I just think that, and maybe it's the way I was groomed because I've been using ChatGPT for so long. I think ChatGPT has a slight heads up with the minute details that you're looking for within a
Hmm.
image, whereas Google still has a little bit of that fear of making something look like a celebrity or something that might be copywritten. I feel like Google has a little more safeguards, should be the proper term that I'm using right now, with their
Yeah,
image
definitely.
generation. But
Yes.
is it good? Yes. Is it worth
Yeah.
the paid subscription? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no, and I'm not even a paid subscriber.
Yeah. I mean, do you get all these generative AI models with one paid subscription? I feel
Uh,
like you do.
I think you do. I don't
I,
know. I'm a Claude and ChatGPT guy at the moment. It's
yeah.
very realistic. I could become a Claude and a Gemini guy in the future. But you know what? You don't know.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking up sort of whatchamacallit, some details on this.
What you get, what tools you get with which
Yeah.
paid accounts.
Yeah, which subscription? I'm asking Gemini again. See, this is how we use Gemini as a tool. Okay,
Gemini
so
is our companion during these video shoots and these as well
yes,
as the podcast recordings.
yes,
Yes.
definitely, because it's used as a tool because we like to fact check ourselves.
Yes.
And I feel like Gemini is a good, solid, reliable. Yes, you do get all three of these with a paid subscription.
Excellent.
So you're going to, get a lot of these. None of them I feel are going to be better than any one specific model. Like I'm looking at the kind of the big three. Compare Imagine is Google's image generator model,
Okay.
comparing it to Midjourney and Dolly, and they're much different. Midjourney is going to be more artistic. I feel like Imagine is going to be your basic stock photos and your
Okay.
basic like professional imaging and everything like that. So if you want to run a business, I would say, and you just want like images, some quick video advertisements,
Yeah.
Google is your guy right here to kind of get that one subscription where you can kind of piece
Yes.
it all together and everything.
Yes.
But
If you're a company or a person that relies on visuals, it's hard to pass up on Google as well as
mhm.
OpenAI. But like right now, Google's kind of got it because they got that video feature.
Yeah, definitely. And, one more thing before we head to the next model here. Text accuracy in Imagine is the best in class, they say.
No
Um,
kidding. I did not
yeah,
know that.
of course, I'm asking Gemini this, but uh,
That's
we'll
oh
see.
that's interesting to me. That's one of those moments where I'm having an epiphany on that. Okay.
Yeah, like accurate text is where it kind of comes into play. So if you want real accurate text, there you go. Um, that may be where they design Imagine, like I said, for a business. But finally, their last model for generative AI content, Lyria 3, music generator.
So I've
Now,
only
this
used
is an
it
interesting one.
two or three times. You're probably more into the music generation than I am. I've used it two or three times. I've been happy with it two or three times.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not used this one. I've only used Suno. That's kind of the
Oh, you
leader
haven't
right
used it?
now.
You haven't used
No.
this yet?
No, I have not used Lyria yet. But this is kind of like a Suno competitor, where Suno is sort of doing more of a music studio
Absolutely.
AI.
Yeah.
If you're gonna like compare these two things, they're not gonna compare really, because going back to Google's model, if you're running a business and you need some background music or what have you, and just some tunes to go along with any of your advertisements or your presentations or whatever, you get this one subscription. You got it. With Gemini,
Yeah.
and you're okay right there. If you're an actual musician, Suno is still going to be your top uh
Oh,
priority right there.
absolutely. So I'm going to share with our audience and you the one thing I did with Google. I have a teenage son. There was a bit of an
Mhm.
argument via text message, something I never got to experience as a teenager. A
Oh,
little bit of
fun.
an argument, and the
Awesome.
response that I got was a little bit incorrect. So
Okay.
I had Google quickly make a jingle that sang "You're Grounded" in the voice of Frank Sinatra.
Oh, beautiful.
Downloaded it, sent it to him. I don't think he understood it, but you know what? I had a good time doing that.
Well, he
So
understood it when he got home, didn't
he
he?
did understand it when he got home. That's the best part about this. He
It's
understood it
like,
immediately because it wasn't in a Frank Sinatra like voice. It was in my harsh, former football coach's voice.
no, very
So
nice.
yes, it
Yeah.
worked. But honestly, a good tool for a quick jingle, or if you're looking to have some
hmm
fun. Very good tool for it.
Yeah,
Very good tool.
yeah, definitely. I mean, this is kind of like we were talking before. Where is Google's place in all this? And this AI subscription that they're creating is the general all-arounder,
Right.
basically for all these generative AI. If you're really into video generation, for like an artistic standpoint, like you're a filmmaker, you're probably not going to use this. If you're an artist that likes to draw their own pictures and kind of use AI to enhance them, or use AI for very big artistic images, not going to be your tool. If you're, a musician who wants to use AI to help, produce your music now, which is that's going to be the next thing, whether you like it or not, still
Yeah,
not your thing. But if you just need this functionality for whatever you're doing, one subscription gets you a good, solid set of tools right here.
absolutely. At a pretty much affordable rate,
Yeah,
that right now.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I want to move on to one of the strengths that we
Hmm.
have with Google.
Hmm.
Okay. And that is that Gemini in particular can be built into your everyday Google apps. So, full disclosure, I have been a, a Gmail slash Google Docs person since 2011, which is hard to
Hmm.
believe was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Been there ever since. I love that my docs, my sheets, my slides, in particular my Google Drive, are all accessible within Gemini. So if I'm referencing something, Gemini knows exactly what I'm referencing.
Hmm.
Even on the free account, it is awesome. It is
Yeah.
absolutely awesome that I can reference that 15 years worth of docs, sheets, slides. I can go into the drive, tell Google what I'm talking about, or Gemini what I'm talking about, and it knows exactly what I'm talking about and can reference it or modify it, update it. Um, it's fantastic. If you're a Google user, it is so hard not to use Google.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been on Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for a while. I have not really hit a lot of the Google Docs sheets and slides, but once I started using them, I realized that, like, ooh boy, Microsoft is in trouble because this
Yeah.
is a very good tool.
Well,
Not to say Microsoft is done
yeah,
by
I
any
want to I want to
means.
throw that in there because when it comes to Copilot, Copilot's good with the
Mhm.
interconnectedness of your calendar, your Word doc, your PowerPoint. Copilot's good. Office 360 or whatever, 365,
Yeah,
it's
Office
good.
365, yeah.
It's good. I think Google's got the upper hand because I feel like Google just has the upper hand on that one.
Yeah, I think it's just like the leaner company, and the
Yeah,
newer company. Microsoft had their foundation with how things used to be. Like you remember in the 90s, in the 2000s, it was
yeah.
Microsoft. They were like boom. Like they
hmm
they had the next big thing. They saw the new Edge and everything like that,
Uh,
and
they had
nobody could
one of
compete
the
them.
original versions of an LLM with
Hmm.
Clippy. Remember Clippy?
Yes. Yes, maybe it's time to bring back Clippy.
No, no, no. Clippy was annoying. I hated Clippy. No, no, no.
I'm gonna bring back Clippy.
Oh
Anyway,
my God. You should make a dream. What was that? Dream Core? Make a game. Clippy. Can he survive? You know?
I'm gonna make that game now. I'm gonna
Oh,
make that
challenge
game.
accepted by Brian.
There we go. But anyway, so Gemini built in all these Google apps and everything. So where does Gemini come into play here? The biggest one right
Yeah.
here, and you got this highlighted on the
Yeah.
document here, Notebook LM. And once I discovered this, I am just
Yes.
love this tool right here, and it's only going
Eh,
to get better. And if you haven't
Yes.
used it, please look it up. And Adam is pumping his
Yes.
fist right now if
I
you're
am.
listening,
I
because he is excited.
as an educator standpoint, that is the most powerful learning tool I possibly have ever seen in
Hmm.
19 years of education profession. But additionally, people are now starting to use Notebook LM, which is associated with Google, which can get your Google Docs and pull it in. Notebook
Hmm.
LM, we kind of did an episode on that early on in our podcast, so how we used Perplexity to create a Notebook LM. We really should do an updated episode because Notebook LM has only gotten better since then.
Hmm.
But it is a powerful tool, and people are now using it for things other than learning. They are using it for business.
Hmm.
I will share with you at work. We utilize the tools of Notebook LM to pull in stuff for state testing. And I don't mean data, I mean like rules, functions to make sure we're doing things correctly. It made a video presentation for us for our staff in 6 minutes. Uh,
Hmm.
and it was very good. Notebook LM, heavily associated with Google, not quite Gemini, but Notebook
Hmm.
LM is very powerful because it doesn't hallucinate because you are uploading the sources for it.
Well, that's kind of the whole thing right there. And
Yeah.
models like this, I think, are going to be really what where people start to see the value in AI.
Yes.
Because right now, people are telling whatever LLM, oh, write me code for this, that, and the other, copy paste. There, I'm a programmer now. No.
No.
Like this, like tools like this are really where I get excited about because, like you said, you're feeding it the data. Like you're feeding it your own documents and everything. And it is only analyzing the documents to which you upload. It already has the reasoning model behind it. And if you don't know like an LLM, basically it's a reasoning model, and it just
Hmm.
uses the internet of the resources of the internet to do that search, and that's where you get all these data centers coming in that use up energy like a fish drinks water essentially. Well, a fish doesn't really drink water, but you get the point anyway. And when you have like a notebook LLM, you just take whatever research you have, whatever documents you have, you just drop it into one space, and that reasoning model only looks at what you're putting in there. And that is really where I think AI is going to take the next big step and everything.
Absolutely. I love it. I know it's not Gemini, but we could talk about this for the rest of the episode and probably longer. But it's a great feature. I encourage everybody to explore because I feel like Notebook LM is an important extension of Gemini.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it's the much more purposeful, research-based tool, if you will.
Yeah.
But I want to move on to the next topic because something else that is pretty cool with Gemini, Gemini can also act as a Google Assistant, which
Hmm.
um, that is an awesome feature. Like it can, Gemini understands natural conversation. It can complete multi-step tasks. And this is with the free version, by the way. For free, it can do that. It can learn preferences if you're connected to your actual Google account. Again, free.
Hmm.
Gmail is free. So as soon as you sign up for Gmail, you have a Gemini account.
Hmm.
It's awesome because Gemini can connect to your Gmail and can connect to your Google Photos. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. If you use that, I fortunately
Mm.
don't really use Google Photos. But if you did that, it certainly could. And there's some cool features with that. There's a lot of videos out there what you can do with that. It does connect to your YouTube account because Google and YouTube are closely associated. It
Google owns YouTube.
Oh, Google owns YouTube, so they're not just closely associated. Google owns it. So,
Yeah.
all
Let me
right,
just let me just double check that because
yeah.
that right there is yeah, that's kind of a soft subject. Yeah, Google owns YouTube. And
Fu-
it's widely considered one of the most successful acquisitions in tech history. I can't really argue with that one
I
because
mean, it's hard to argue with that. Here's a
yeah,
fun fact, Brian. Did you know that YouTube originally was going to start as a dating site until they pivoted?
I did not know that.
It was going to
That's
be an
interesting.
online dating site. Yeah,
YouTube. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense, but yeah, it's kind of an interesting one, but yeah, bought in November of 2006 for 1.65 billion. That is
Wow.
a
Google made out like a bandit on that one.
oh boy, yeah. So yeah, this is where this is where things start to get interesting. But yeah, I mean, using the Google Assistant, oh no, it's replacing the Google Assistant with Gemini. Sorry about that. But Gemini as your assistant, and it does these things too. I will say, I've had
Hmm.
conversations with Gemini, and it's referenced things that I've discussed with it in the past and everything, and it's basically, did a lot of lookups for conversations that we had or whatnot, and that almost gets scary because how much is it really starting to learn you? Is it
I feel
tracking
like
your browser history?
I,
Is it?
it could because Chrome. I will say this. I think out of all the ones, if they really wanted to evade your privacy, I don't think
Hmm.
anybody can touch what Google can do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've got
This
a
is
feeling
where it
they're
gets
not
kind of
doing
tricky.
it.
Yeah, this is where
Yeah.
this is where things kind of get difficult. We're not trying to go dark with this episode because we do like a lot of Google's products, but. yeah, that's kind of where it kind of gets tricky and everything. And going to the next topic, expanding beyond phones and computers. It's
Absolutely. Yes.
it's starting to do, expand Google TV, Gemini Workspace,
Yeah.
Gemini Auto Browse.
You know what's funny? I want to touch base on workspace. We're not even, that's an entire episode or two of its own of what
Hmm.
companies are able to do with Google Workspace right now. And what it does do basic, I'm going to give you the basic, one sentence thing. It makes teams collaborate a lot faster and effectively and very powerful. If you watch some of the YouTube videos or even TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever it is that your source is for learning AI, you will
Hmm.
learn that Google or Gemini Workspace is very powerful when it's used correctly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And yeah, Google Workspace is its own, like you said, its own episode. We may actually index this for a future episode, trying to put Google Workspace together,
duly
and
noted.
everything, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do because we'd have to do a full demonstration on this to really explain what it is.
Hmm.
But this is kind of where it's going and everything. Google TV. I'm kind of against algorithmic television. To be honest with you, it kind
Yeah,
of it kind of leads you down to like pigeonholes you into your entertainment and doesn't allow you to kind of explore different things. That's kind of what I liked about old school radio and TV is you just kind of flip through and sometimes you just take what's given to you and
absolutely.
everything. So,
Sometimes that was fun. Do you remember the pay-per-view guide?
oh yeah,
Pay-per-view channel. It would
oh
just, or
yeah,
not the pay-per-view. I'm sorry. What was the preview channel? It
yeah, the
would just
preview channel.
scroll what was on TV, and you had to make a decision based on what that was.
Oh yeah, definitely. And if you looked away and you missed your channel, you had to wait for it to scroll all the way back around.
Yes, it was like if you missed if your school in the alphabet had a snow day on the TV.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, now you get everything. But yeah, Google TV, I'm kind of wondering how useful that's going to be or if we really need it. This is kind of my only negative gripe on it. Um, Gemini Auto Browse searching topics automatically. I feel like that's kind of what Gemini does now.
I
Or
I
is this something more advanced? I
I
haven't really
kind
looked
of
into
agree
this
because
myself.
I so this is the one drawback that I have to mention during this episode. My one complaint about Gemini is I feel it does too much at
Hmm.
times. And by at
It
times, I
babbles.
mean more than 50% of the time. If you tell it in the prompt to be precise and concise, I don't think Gemini is capable of doing that.
We tried that in a previous episode. I remember. No,
I
it
think two.
babbles.
I think
Yeah.
two. We tried that. Yeah,
It does a lot of babbling and everything.
it
So
can as an LLM.
yeah, so AI beyond phones and computers. I'm wondering how much of this we really need. I kind
Yeah.
of go back to the 80s tech boom where they started putting TVs on a microwave. Do we really need that? And that kind of flopped, obviously. And this is kind of where engineers like just to see what they can do and everything. And this is kind of what I'm wondering, with Google TV and auto browse, are we kind of just doing something that we don't really need to do?
Right.
So that's what I like about Google. But either
Yeah.
way, trying to wrap up here. A lot of this is free. Notebook LM is free. You can use it to a point. Gemini is free. You can use it to a point, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. And everything.
It
But
is.
there are
It's a
some paid
power.
subscriptions.
Yeah. The subscriptions. I, I would consider a paid account if you think you're going to use some of these tools we mentioned tonight. I would consider
Hmm.
that. And if you are a layman, I think one of the points Brian and I have driven home throughout our first year of this podcast, it is worth it to have a paid subscription if you're using AI on a daily basis. The catch is you
Hmm.
got to ask yourself which one's best for you.
Yeah,
Is it
definitely.
Grok? Is it Gemini? Is it ChatGPT? Is it Claude?
Yeah.
Um, I know where the trending's going right now. Um, Google's not going anywhere. Gemini's not going anywhere. It is safe to use.
Hmm.
If you're a Google person, which I actually am, I'm still surprised I don't have the paid account.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's worth looking into. There's a lot of good things happening at Google with Gemini. They fixed a lot of their earlier errors that they made as a company. And I would encourage you guys, if you're not using Gemini daily, no, go ahead and start checking it out here and there.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I do this as kind of like my everyday grinding AI tool.
Hmm.
If I'm getting into a project, I'll go to Claude because they have kind of their Claude projects and everything. But that's a episode previously. Go ahead and look it up and listen to that one as well. Anyway, but no, like Google definitely. I think it's your everyman AI essentially
Yes.
is kind of what you're looking at just because of everything it can do. You may already have an Android phone. Even if you have an Apple phone, Apple is using Gemini's models in the background, in case you didn't know
But
that.
blows your mind if you didn't know that. If you knew anything about the history of those companies, that cracks you up. I I
Yeah,
mean,
it's yeah, I mean I would have never thought that. Obviously they're not going to merge because that would just create a god. Um a kind of God company right there, and it
right,
would be unstoppable. But either way, but no, they have a partnership with Google Gemini, and that's kind of something to keep in mind right there. And like I said before, some of these video generators are starting to integrate Google's image generator into their subscription. So this is
hmm,
kind of definitely an interesting one. But it's going to be interesting to see where how much they actually go for here. I don't see them doing any specialized models. I still think there's going to be some specialized models, but what I would be kind of looking at, if they start to go too far ahead, would be a antitrust suit, like kind of Microsoft had to go through once they realized how much Windows was controlling the market of computing and everything, and I mean, I see the potential there. I'm not saying they're going to go that far, but I definitely
right.
see the potential of them reaching that point.
It's possible. I I feel like they're smart enough not to. But again, I'm using a term like I feel or I think. I don't know, but
Well,
I feel like they're smart enough not to get that far. But then again, that's all determined by a judge in a courtroom. It's not determined by the company. So
yeah, I
who
mean,
knows?
sometimes you don't realize you're on a power trip, until you get like a reality check. And
Hmm.
I think that's kind of what happened with Bill Gates is he realized, what he was actually doing after the courts brought it down. And I would just say Google might want to be careful with how far they take this because them owning YouTube right now is already kind of uh, starting to make people wonder
Yeah,
about those things. But yeah, either way, I think that about wraps it up for this evening.
I would say so.
Yeah, I would say so. But anyway, I'd like to give everybody a big thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us. My name is Brian.
And I am Adam.
And you have been listening to the Layman's AI, and we will see you next time.